These could seriously be some of the best upgrades that you can make for your shop on a budget. And we're talking all of these are under $100 a piece, and some of these are absolutely genius. If you'd like to check out any of these tools you see today, I'll drop a link in the description and the pinned comment to help you find them easier. And we may have a catastrophic failure here, all my fault, of course. Let's go. This is Kreg's portable work surface. It doesn't matter if you have a workbench or you don't have a workbench, you can probably use this in your shop, and it's quite affordable for everything that you get in this package. Now last year, Kreg and I partnered up on a Kreg track saw video, and they asked, is there anything else we have that you'd like to check out? And when I saw this, I didn't know they made it. When I saw it, I was like, I need to check that out. So they sent it over for me to check out, and I'm glad they did. And I think you will be too. Now, out of the box, it's packaged extremely well. You get this work surface itself with those 20mm dog holes pre-drilled in it, and we'll talk about kind of how you're going to be able to use those. And it does have some grooves that we'll talk about as well. Now, it comes with 4 adjustable feet, so even if you're on an unlevel surface, you should be able to level this up so you don't have any wobbliness. Wobbliness, is that a word? You get 4 20mm dog stops, pretty nice. You also get this push clamp, and you also get this squeeze clamp. And it comes with 2 stringy thingies that I'll talk about. Setup for this thing takes seriously just a couple of minutes. Like, it's very quick. You're just going to install the feet. There's 4 bolt holes on each corner, and you're just going to screw those bolts into those legs. Except one of my legs wasn't tapped out, so there were no threads inside of it, but it was a quick, easy fix. I just took my drill, held the leg with the handy dandy Robogrips from Craftsman. You probably have never seen these. These come out when I was a kid. There was an infomercial on them. I wanted them so bad. Now how? I don't think they make them anymore. Anyway, I just used my drill to drive that screw into the leg. I don't plan on taking the leg off, and it probably just threaded it anyway because it's aluminum. After that, if you choose to use this, it's basically a rubber string or a rubber rope, really grippy. You can thread it through the holes and then press down into the grooves, and it's going to give you a grippy surface all the way across this. It depends on what you're making or what you're doing with this is if you want to install that, but that option is there. There's plenty of string or rubber rope here to do both sides. You'll have basically a grippy surface all the way across. I chose not to because that's not how I use it. And if I'm using a small piece on, I just don't want the wobbliness if there's touching some and not touching some. But again, if you want it, it's there. Now it also comes with a handhold that also doubles up, which I think was very, very smart on their part. You know, Kreg sells the containers of pocket hole screws. That will fit right in there. So if you're actually working on a project, you'll have your hardware right here handy. Now with these legs installed, it raises up off the surface about 5 inches. And this thing is seriously sturdy, like very, very sturdy. Or if you don't have a work surface, when I first moved into this garage, I didn't have a workbench, so I worked on the floor. I'm sure many of you living in apartments or small spaces or even rental places, you don't have a place to do your work. You could use this in the driveway, on the garage floor, however you need to do that, and give yourself a work surface that raises it up off the floor. So if you're doing routing or sanding or painting or finishing, it gets it up off the surface and gives you a place to work and gives you endless clamping capabilities. And speaking of that, let me show you how it works. First and foremost, this work surface is dead flat, so you don't have to worry about anything rocking and wobbling on there. And it comes with the 4 dogs with some rubber attachments that fit down in there. You could probably glue those in, but they fit pretty tight. What that's going to allow you to do is set boards and things on top of those rubber stops, and it kind of gives you a grippy feel similar to one of my favorite workbench upgrades I've ever bought are these Rockler bench cookies, which you could also throw on there as well and have a very similar setup. Now the Rockler bench cookies will give you a lot more surface to put your boards on and a lot more grip area. It depends on if you want to upgrade to those or not, but I absolutely recommend these. I'll drop a link in the description to everything you see, including those in the description and a pinned comment. Not only can you put things on top of it, you can clamp things down that you're going to be working on. Doesn't matter if you're sanding, if you're routing, if you're finishing. This could be absolutely game-changing for your shop if you don't have a way to lock things down like this. Now I know a lot of times, especially on a workbench, if you don't have T-track clamps, if you don't have dog holes already, you just have an assembly table of some kind, it's very difficult to clamp things down. A lot of times you'll wind up trying to clamp one side down to the edge of your workbench and work on the rest of it, and then you have to move the clamp. It can be quite annoying, but this is going to solve that for you. Now a few ways you can lock things down to this work surface. Well, let me back up. On the bottom, there's grippy feet or grippy pads that you install on the bottom after you get it on. And that's going to keep that thing from moving around on your work surface, no matter if it's your workbench. I got kind of a slick piece of plywood here, or even on the garage floor or anything like that. It should keep it kind of locked in place. Now, when you get ready to clamp things down, you're just going to use these dog holes. You're going to drop them in wherever you need them, And then you can use this push clamp, which is actually quite nice. Put it into the dog hole and then just twist. It's gonna lock it in between the dog hole and the bench clamp, and then you can do your sanding, your routing, your cutting. If you're cutting off the end of the board or something, it'll allow you to do that. Another cool feature about this is the dog holes are actually 90 degrees to each other. So if you actually wanted to set up and you're, say, making a 90-degree pocket hole joint or something like that, you could take these dog stops and put them 90 degrees from each other, and that's going to give you a reference so that you know that that piece is actually 90 degrees. And then, of course, you could use the bench clamp or even the squeeze clamp or anything like that to hold those pieces in place while you drive your screws or drill your holes or anything like that. And if you already have any 3/4 inch dog accessories, they will fit in these 3/4 inch holes. You also get Kreg's Grip clamp. It's basically a squeeze clamp. The head comes off so you can actually stick it down through the dog hole, reattach the head, and then you can clamp things down using this. This is a nice little clamp. If you don't have any of these, it's always good to pick them up, but it does come with this table in this combo. I'm glad they did that because now you have an extra clamp. And I also have a lot of these MicroJig dovetail clamps that can come in handy, especially if you're clamping down round stock like dowels or anything like that. Because you can pick up these extra accessories called X-pads for these, or you could actually buy one of these with an X-pad already included if you wanted to do that. But these, the way these work, if you have any dovetail clamps or any of these type clamps or track clamps, anything like that, they'll stick down through that dog hole. You can rotate it, and then you can just clamp down anything that you're working on. Where I see this being extremely useful is if you're building smaller projects, cutting boards, charcuterie boards, epoxy trays. If you're trying to paint and finish small things like birdhouses or other small projects, this could be really cool because it clamps everything down. Like if I'm putting board butter on this leopard wood you see here, isn't leopard wood beautiful? It's my wife's favorite species. But when you put this board butter on there, it looks absolutely amazing. Like it brings the colors out. But this is where this thing shines because you can set your projects on top. It raises it up off the surface so you can get all the way around that project where you need it to. And because these dogs have those little rubber grips on top, it prevents that from moving around while you apply your finishes. Now this will work with paint, maybe some clear finishes, anything you're brushing on, you could do it like that as well. Also, I think when you're sanding smaller parts, it sometimes gets annoying trying to hold things in place on a workbench if it's sliding around. So you can use those just to stick it in place. You see here I'm just sanding away and it's staying where it's supposed to. And of course, if you're trying to route around the edges and things like that, this gets it up off the surface so your router bits isn't damaging the surface or bumping into anything. And then you can go all the way around that project without it moving or anything like that. The number 2 upgrade for any shop, really, especially if you're into woodworking and you're building jigs or even having dog holes or clamps or anything like that, is these MicroJig dovetail clamps. We're going to show you some jigs that you can build with them, but you can also use it with this Kreg table. Or any dog hole table, really. Now you can pick up a couple of these dovetail clamps with a bit for well under $100. I think it's gonna be around $50, $60. These are immensely useful in a shop. You can build all kinds of stuff with it. You can build a whole table set up clamping down these things. I've built jigs with them, especially my jointing jigs. So if you don't have a jointer, you can edge joint boards without a jointer on your table saw with just these dovetail clamps and that dovetail bit to build this jig that you see. It's very simple to do. If you just search 731 no jointer, no problem, here on YouTube, you'll find it. Or my safer crosscut sled, just search 731 safer crosscut sled. It also uses these dovetail clamps because it gives me clamping options, or a miter fence where I can cut angles. I love this system. I've been using it for a long time. It's just a good system.
This isn't? We're doomed.
Do you have a junk drawer? I have a few, but not if these are in it. This is the next shop upgrade on a budget you should consider because they're very inexpensive and they will make your life much easier when you start looking for stuff. Missing that 10mm socket? No more with this. Now, I think these come in a 30 or a 32 pack, so you get multiple sizes here and you'll be able to organize basically anything you want. Now I've got them in this drawer behind me, and as you see, everything is super organized. So hooks and things like that on the pegboard. I've got all of those down here in different sizes. Knobs for jigs, Bow Products knobs for their feather boards, some eyes, all kinds of stuff. Then of course, random screwdrivers or pliers for my Robogrips, random sockets. I keep everything like this so that I can see it and I can access it and I know where it's at when I need it. Have some for random drill bits, random driver bits. Also CNC clamps, parts, pieces. It just keeps everything so organized, and it's one of those things that it's a no-brainer because they are so inexpensive. The number 4 and number 5 budget upgrade that you can make for your shop is dust collection. If you were like me when you first started out, or if you're just starting out, you didn't give much thought to dust collection and it just got messy really fast. Number 1, it's not good for your health to breathe up a bunch of dust. And if you can collect that dust on the budget, that's even better. This is a Bauer 4.5 horsepower, 9-gallon shop vac. Pretty easy to assemble. Straight out of the box, you just use 4 screws to put these 4 rolling feet on. And then from there, all the accessories and all are on board, so you can just attach them there so you can clean the floor or anything like that. This is a wet dry vac, so if you have a spill or pipe bust, you could use it for that as well. But we're going to use it for dust collection. Now, one thing I found out really early on is a shop vac just isn't enough for dust collection, which is why we have number 5 paired with number 4. Some type of separator so that you can separate the dust before it gets to the shop vac will keep your shop vac from filling up as fast, but more importantly, it will keep your filter cleaner longer. And so that's what we're after. Because if the filter gets stopped up, then you don't get as much suction. I have been known to overfill a vacuum time or two. This is a cyclone separator and it goes on top of any 5-gallon bucket. This just happens to be a Harbor Freight. Now they do make a dust extractor, which I'll talk about in a minute. And after I made that video, they reached out to me, we got on the call, they said, is there anything you want to check out from Harbor Freight? And I said, I would like to check out some of your dust collection stuff. There's a pile of boxes there with a big dust collector in it coming soon. But this is actually perfect for those on a budget or in small spaces because you don't have space for a big dust collector or you don't have the budget for it. Now this cyclone separator actually comes in a kit and it comes with the hose, it comes with an adapter so you can hook the hose up to the cyclone, and then of course the bucket lid, a new bucket lid with a pre-drilled hole in it. And then all you have to do is bolt this on. Now don't forget the gasket like I do or you'll have to go back and redo it. And then you can use your handy dandy Craftsman Robogrip pliers if you are so lucky to have a set. It also comes with this flexible hose. This is more of a rubbery feeling hose versus this hose that's on the shop vac, more plastic feeling. It does come with that pipe clamp so you can snug that up right there. Now this is a standard 2 1/4 inch hose adapter on the end, so most of your smaller tools will fit this. When I say smaller, I mean like bench top style table saws and things like that. But if you want to adapt this down to smaller things like sanders, routers, track saws, that sort of thing, you got to check out this Dust Right hose adapter kit that will basically adapt to any tool. We're talking sanders, routers, anything. Has a lot of different connections in there. I love this kit, and I think it's about $50-ish. So it's not overly expensive, and you can adapt to basically any tool you'll have in your shop. All right, let's put it through the test and see what it'll do. When you turn it on, you'll actually see this hose kind of shrink as the suction comes through it, so you know you're getting pretty good suction there. Woo! Word of caution, do not put your hand over that while this bucket is, it pulls a suction. That is a powerful vacuum. So let's swap this out for a different bucket. That scared me a little. I was not expecting that. The good thing is this fits on any 5-gallon bucket, so I can pop it down on my Home Depot bucket. How this works is there's a cyclone separator on top, and what happens is air is going to come in through the top and it's going to spin because it's being pulled actually through this hose all the way back into your shop vac. When the dust enters the top of this cyclone, it's spinning. The heavier particles will fall into the bucket, and the lighter particles that are dangerous for you will go into the shop vac. And then the filter will clean the air, and then all is good, right? See how much better that works when you don't do something dumb? Open the bucket up, you can see almost all of the dust. And I say almost all, I mean almost all, collected into the bucket. When you open up the shop vac, the filter is still clean, crystal clean, and then also in the bottom, there's only a few small flecks of dust. Like we're talking just a very few. That's how a cyclone separator works, and that's how it saves your shop vac's filters, as well as just overfilling your shop vac. Now there's some places I think this is better than others. So if you're looking at something like this dust separator with the 5-gallon bucket, you're going to want to use something like this on your sanders, routers, circular saws, track saws, stuff like that. Now if you're stepping up to bigger tools like your table saws, your planers, your jointers, producing a bunch of dust, then I would actually recommend this HomeRite Dust Right separator. It's bigger, a lot more capacity than a 5-gallon bucket, and it just works very similar, but it doesn't have the cyclone on top, but it kind of cyclones in the bucket. You can even see this bucket right here as I shine a light behind it, kind of cycloning in there even when we weren't sucking up any more dust. So it kind of works the same. It still keeps your filters the same. It's a little more expensive than this setup, but I think it's worth it unless you just like emptying the bucket every 5 minutes, especially if you're using it on a planer or a jointer. Now, as far as the catastrophic failure goes, I think it says more about the suction power of this shop vac versus the integrity of this bucket, because this bucket feels exactly the same thickness as the Home Depot bucket. You're just not supposed to cover that end up because it just pulls such a vacuum, then the pressure has to go somewhere. So, happy accident? I don't know. I need to go check my pants. Now, as stated, Harbor Freight also makes a very nice dust extractor. I was absolutely blown away by this dust extractor. It's a HEPA filter, so that means it's gonna get the really, really fine dust. I would actually recommend that if you have the budget for it and you're using it on smaller tools like sanders, routers, and those creating smaller amounts of dust. It is a fantastic value. And if you'd like to check out that full review video, I have it right there. Click in that box, get you the big old virtual fist bump. You're gonna wanna use that